You know that feeling when you walk into a coffee shop and it's absolutely packed, but nobody's really talking? It's just rows of people on laptops, studying, working for hours. Well, in Taiwan, one of the biggest coffee giants didn't just tolerate this, they literally built their empire on it. So let's get into the incredible and kind of counterintuitive story of Louisa Coffee.
I mean, this quote from Louisa's CEO says it all. It sounds completely backwards, right? A business that actually wants people to take up tables all day without buying much? But believe me, this was no accident. It was a calculated, brilliant move that came out of a crisis that almost put them out of business for good.
So that's the big question here. Is Louisa a coffee shop, or is it basically Taiwan's favorite study hall? The truth is, they've intentionally blurred that line. And to really get why, you have to understand what pushed them into that corner in the first place. Seriously, if you've been to Taiwan, you've probably done this. You grab a latte, find a seat, and boom, that's your office for the next 4 hours. And the amazing part is, unlike a lot of other places, Louisa is totally cool with it. And there is a very, very smart reason for that.
And here's the key thing to remember. This whole library with a coffee machine model was never, ever the original plan. It was a desperate pivot. It was plan B, and it ended up becoming their secret weapon in one of the toughest coffee markets on the planet. So what on earth happened?
Okay, so let's rewind the clock a bit. The whole story really kicks off with this massive shock to the system, something that just turned the entire market upside down. I'm talking about the rise of convenience store coffee. This wasn't just competition, it was an all-out war for survival. See, back in the early days, Louisa was all about being fast, a quick takeaway coffee joint. But then, bam, 7-Eleven launches its City Cafe brand. All of a sudden, you could get a cheap, pretty decent cup of coffee on literally every street corner. And for a takeaway shop like Louisa, the impact was just devastating.
And when I say devastating, I mean it. The numbers are just brutal. Before City Cafe, an average store was selling about 300 cups a day. After, that number crashed down to just 50. Their business basically fell off a cliff, dropping to just 1/6 of what it was almost overnight. They were staring at total collapse.
So, what do? Well, the CEO came up with this strategy he calls the sacrifice hit, which is a term from baseball. The idea was, okay, we can't beat the convenience stores on price or speed. It's a losing battle. So instead, they decided to compete on something those tiny stores could never offer, space. They decided to sacrifice high table turnover just to get people in the door. And here's where the genius of it all clicks into place. You lure people in with comfy seats and free Wi-Fi. They settle in for a few hours. And then, what happens? They get hungry. So you roll out a bigger menu. That person who only bought one coffee, well, now they're buying a sandwich, maybe a slice of cake a bit later, and then a tea after that. Suddenly, your one-cup customer is a 3-item customer. The coffee gets them in the door, but it's the food that actually makes you the money.
Okay, so Louisa survives that first big battle. But just as things were looking up, a new kind of threat started to bubble up, or at least a really persistent rumor of one. The market was buzzing that the massive, and let's be honest, controversial Chinese coffee giant Luckin Coffee was planning a takeover.
And this was the multi-million-dollar question on everyone's mind. Luckin is famous for its super aggressive, tech-first, grow-at-all-costs model. So, could they just waltz into Taiwan and buy up one of the biggest local champions?
Well, the answer from Louisa's CEO was not subtle. It was swift, it was direct, and it was a flat-out absolutely impossible. He didn't just brush it off either. He laid out a very clear, very logical argument for why it was never, ever going to happen. His argument basically stood on 3 big pillars. First, ownership. The management team holds over 70% of the company's shares, so a hostile takeover is pretty much off the table. Second, the business models are totally different. Louisa isn't just a grab-and-go coffee app like Luckin. It's a whole lifestyle brand now. And third, and this one is a real deal-breaker, are the regulatory hurdles. A lot of Louisa's best locations are in places like government buildings or high-speed rail stations, and those places have rules that ban Chinese-made equipment. An acquisition would mean shutting those stores down.
So, the CEO's final mic drop on the subject was this. If Luckin did actually enter the Taiwanese market, their real fight wouldn't even be with Louisa. It would be with the convenience store chains. They're the ones competing on that street-level, low-price, high-convenience game. Louisa's already playing in a completely different league.
So after successfully defending their turf, Louisa isn't just sitting back. They're on the offensive, actively pushing beyond their coffee shop origins. So what's the next step? Where are they headed?
Well, the vision is big. They're aiming to become a full-blown coffee-centric dining and lifestyle brand. Notice that word coffee-centric. Coffee is still the heart and soul, but now it's the anchor for a much wider range of experiences. We're talking full-service dining, and who knows what other lifestyle ventures are next.
And you can already see this vision taking shape with their new restaurant brand called White Mist Time. I mean, this place is huge, a 180-seat restaurant aimed at department store crowds. The average bill is around 300 to 400 new Taiwan dollars a person. This is a massive step-up market, and it's all about providing a full dining experience, not just a quick coffee.
But, of course, this kind of growth isn't easy in today's world. Louisa is feeling the same pressures as just about every other business out there, and their answer to that challenge lies in a big push toward digital transformation.
The squeeze is coming from everywhere. You've got inflation driving up the cost of raw materials. Their electricity bill has jumped by 2 to 3 million TWD per month. That's insane. And of course, labor costs keep rising. They've got to get smarter and more efficient to handle all that.
And their main strategy for fighting back against all these rising costs? It all comes down to technology. They're making a huge strategic bet that investing in digital tools right now is what's going to save them money and unlock new growth down the road. So what they've done is build out this incredibly comprehensive mobile ordering system. It does everything from letting you pre-order your coffee on the way to ordering more food right from your table. But here's the real game changer. The ultimate goal is to use all the data they collect to really understand what customers want and find totally new ways to grow the business.
But get this, even with all this focus on new restaurants and fancy tech, they are not forgetting what got them here. In fact, they're doubling down on their core coffee shops with a super ambitious goal to hit 600 stores across Taiwan by 2026.
So it all kind of comes back to this one central idea. Louisa's entire journey makes you wonder, in a world that's overflowing with coffee options, maybe the real battle isn't about the coffee at all. Maybe the real competition is about who can offer the best space for people to live, work, and study. It's a fascinating thought, and it's the strategy that took Louisa from the brink of failure to the top of the mountain.